So I grew up here in Canberra, born and raised. I came from a pretty alright family. Normal, very sheltered childhood. I completed all my schooling up to year 12. Then I went on to complete my apprenticeship, became a fully qualified chef. That's where I met my ex-partner and we started dating. We moved up to the south coast for a bit and I was working full time. Then I fell pregnant with my daughter. I brought into the world this beautiful baby girl, whom I love very much. I spent her first 4 years at home with her, and then after that I got back into work and worked at some local cafes. We had our own house through community housing because rent in Canberra is very expensive. It was when my ex-partner's mother passed away that he, instead of coming to me for support, he got into drugs. And that was a really hard time because of the drugs and stuff. He ended up getting quite violent. CYPS got involved and our daughter got placed with my parents in kinship care. Things looked like they were getting back on the right track, but then he just went off the walls basically. He ended up using me to escape Canberra and took me down to the coast where over 3 days we ended up out in the bush, no food, no water, where he beat me, strangled me, smothered me. Yeah, it was a pretty horrendous experience. I managed to get away from him by walking to get help because he smashed the car into a wall and we needed help getting it started. I was lucky I was close to the highway and I went to one of the little service stations along the highway. I would have walked probably a good 10-15 kilometres to get there. The people who I spoke to there, they were really, really helpful. They took me in, they gave me food and drink and called the police, and then I ended up in Nowra Hospital. That's where the social worker got onto Onelink for me, which was quite difficult because I was in New South Wales, even though I come from ACT, Onelink couldn't do anything until I was physically back in the ACT. I was lucky that my mum was able to come and pick me up and bring me back to the ACT. Because my mum and dad had my daughter, I wasn't allowed to stay with them. So that's where Onelink hooked me up to Tura. Two workers came out and did an intake with me, and that was where my journey with Tura began. My worker offered me all of these programs that I could do, one of which was the day program. I decided to take her up on that because it's helpful for people who have been through addiction or people who have lived with others who have gone through addictions. I did dabble a little bit because of my ex-partner, so that was really good for me. It just helped me with my resolve to not do drugs, and overall the program is really, really good because it's not just about recovery, it's also about life skills, looking after yourself, self-worth, that kind of thing. So the recovery part's just one component of the overall program, and it's really nice space. I found it a safe place where I could share my experiences and hear the experiences of others, and it's nice to know that you're not alone in these experiences. So the other program, Smart Recovery, initially I was referred to that because that is also a way to help you through addiction and stuff. Basically with Smart Recovery, you look at your last 7 days and how you coped with that, and then make a goal, an achievable goal for the next 7 days. Something that you want to change or work on. For example, one goal was, say, exercise. Want to help get your fitness back, and then you look at it and go, well, okay, well, what can I do for this next week that will help me accomplish my goal? So say go for a walk once or twice a week. For me, I continued on with that throughout my whole tour journey, because I found that really, really helpful for myself, just to keep me focused, unload the last 7 days and figure out what I need, what's important for me for the next 7 days. I would even like to start a group that's similar to that, but not for, say, recovery, just like a support group out in the community, where, say, struggling mothers can get together and just unload their last 7 days and set goals for the next 7 days. So the other program that I did also with the AOD side of Tura was Healing Trauma Group. That's not based so much on recovery from like AOD, but more so the traumas that you've gone through and helping you heal through them. I found that really, really helpful. It was a 6-week program. Because of COVID, I actually ended up doing it one-on-one with a counsellor. We just went through a booklet. We talked about the traumas and how we look at those traumas, and did grounding exercises. One of the grounding exercises is the 5 senses. Say 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can hear, 3 things that you can touch, 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. And I suppose it's just, it brings you back to the here and the now. It helped me feel at peace. My caseworker has been super supportive throughout the whole journey. So when I first came into Tura, I was in their main refuge, and then I went on to transitional housing until I was able to get my house through ACT housing. Throughout the journey she was super supportive. When I first got there, I was very, very anxious. So she sat with me and made the phone calls, the intake phone calls, to help. Things like I had to talk to victims of crime, and they do their own intake, and having lots of intakes all at once can be quite overwhelming. So just having her sit there with me in the room while I was doing that was super helpful and supportive. And she came with me to my appointments, because initially I had a CIPS worker who I didn't see eye to eye with. Any supporting documents that I've needed, for example, now that I am trying to get into community service work, she has helped me give me supporting documents for my Working with Vulnerable People card. And just being there for a chat. I've changed quite a bit. I'm a different person. Through the courses and that, I've learnt to set boundaries, say no to people, and I've really come out of my shell, and I've really found a passion for helping others. When I first came, I was quite shy and timid and quite anxious person, but through all the programs all the support, I've come out a much better person, I think. And that helped me to get the restoration of my daughter, because Care and Protection were going to take her off me and put 18-year orders in place, because I'd gone back to her father. So yeah, it's really helped me. It's given me the courage to do what I needed to do to fight for my daughter back. And yeah, Tura's been really supportive with that whole process. Even when I finally found out that I did have the 2-year restoration and I was going to get my daughter back, at the time I was living in one of their single women's transitional houses, and Tura were able to move me to one of their transitional houses which housed mums and kids, so that when my daughter came to stay with me, we were able to make that happen.